their hard work in and become head football coaches. My friend Frank Reich has been an assistant coach. God, he was an assistant coach, I think, for about 2 decades. And he was schooled by so many great coaches. And to get an opportunity to be a head football coach in the National Football League is without a doubt one of the greatest honors you can have. There's only 30, when people go like this, there's only 32 quarterback jobs in the NFL. Well, there's only 32 head football coaching jobs in the National Football League. And it's very hard to get those jobs. And I'm glad to see opportunities for guys like Frank Reich here. So hopefully we're able to catch up with Frank here in a second and get his thoughts here. Real quick. So that number 3 guy, in my opinion, I think he's got to be a return guy for the Eagles. Okay? I think he's got to help on the return game because they need to do a better job in their special teams. They really didn't address their special teams. So for me, I think that's going to be essential. Tone, let me know when we're good to go with Frank when he's here, okay? They've got to address that. And again, I think you're going to be able to do that with all these compensation picks. Okay? With all these compensation picks, I want to double check here. Okay. We're working on getting Frank now. So please hit the like button. Appreciate it here. Thank you guys so much. Let's see where we are right now. Okay. I'm not sure we're here yet. Still working it. Dude, they've got to improve on that special teams. Okay? They've got to improve. Frank, you there?
I am here, Dan. I am sorry that for some reason the camera is not working, but I can see you. I can see your face clearly. You look as good as ever. You look as good as ever.
Hey, Frank, congratulations. I want to say this to you, man. Congratulations on getting back into the game. Frank, did you ever think about sitting out a little bit and not getting back into it? Or was it David Tepper selling you on coming to Carolina? What made you not take the year off like Doug Peterson did and want to get back into the game?
I mean, it was an opportunity to work for Mr. Tepper in my hometown. I mean, this is where my daughters were raised, with a team of, with the up and coming team. I think that is a team that has a very talented defense, a team that, that there's so much to be excited about on defense. On offense, you look at the second half of the year, a team that was able to run the ball and pound the ball exceedingly well. So just excited to be back home, excited to be with the Panthers organization. Mr. Tepper has been, great. It's a great start to the couple of weeks that I've had here. Been very engaged with him on building out this coaching staff, on setting a vision for the team going forward.
I saw David Tepper echo a little bit what you said, Frank, when it came to putting a coaching staff. And, I asked Jimmy Johnson why he had such great success, saying Dallas is, he brought every single assistant coach, Frank, from the Miami Hurricanes that coached me with him to Dallas. And he said, without a coaching staff, I don't care how great the coach is, the scheme, how great you could develop quarterbacks. It's so important to have that coaching staff. And if you don't have that coaching staff in place, the chances of a head coach being successful in the NFL are so slim. And so to get his support, that was probably another selling point to you.
It was a huge deal. And that's what he said in the interview process. He said, hey, bring us the best coaches and, we'll get these guys taken care of. And he backed up his word there. I'm really excited about the staff that we built, almost finished. These are men of good character. These are men who are highly competent, at their positions. And I think, just as important is the chemistry. We have a diversity of thought and backgrounds and experiences that I think will build great chemistry and connection with our team.
Frank, you're a former NFL player yourself. You seem to gravitate to former NFL guys that work their way up the coaching tree. God knows how many assistant coaching jobs that you have had in your coaching tree to get the opportunities that you had in Indianapolis and now with Carolina. I mean, it seems that you gravitate to that. Why?
I think it's a mix, Dan. I mean, it has to be the right guy. It's not just, I do think there are some advantages to be a former player, but there's also advantages to being a guy who's been coaching since you're 22 years old. I mean, so I'm trying to get a mix. And really, again, it goes back to hiring the man. That's so critical for me. So sometimes it's a former player, sometimes not. I love having Josh McCown on the staff, right, as a 17-year vet at quarterback. A guy like Deuce Staley, he still got that fire in Juice. Sean Jefferson. I mean, I could, obviously James Campen, the offensive line. Now we played a while ago, but so I do think I want to play to those advantages and the credibility and connection that you can have with the players there. But I don't want to discount these other coaches who are tremendous coaches who bring tremendous experience. I think I love the chemistry of both of those.
Coach, I know that the number one thing when coaches leave a place, it's how you leave a place for you to be able to get the next place. And no shade on anything here. Just one comment and one question on how give me a sense of what you thought you accomplished in Indianapolis, and were you proud of what you did there? And I even saw Jim Irsay come out and congratulate you on getting the opportunity in Carolina. Just a quick comment on your experience at Indianapolis.
It was tremendous. I mean, I was there, four full seasons. 2 out of those 4 seasons, we were in the playoffs. We did some good things. The other 2 seasons that we didn't make the playoffs, we were close in both of those instances. Obviously, we had a new quarterback every season, so we had some challenges that we had to overcome. We won a lot of games, did a lot of good things, was proud of what we did. We fell a little bit short of some of our goals, but overall, the experience was tremendous. Mr. Irsay was great, and certainly appreciated, working with him for the years there, but super excited about the transition. Kind of get to go version 2.0, work out, you learn things from the first go round, and now here you go round 2, and you just feel like you're going to be better and stronger.
It's funny you say that, Coach, because, you talk to Mike Shanahan, he says his experience with the Raiders prepared him for what was next for him in Denver. And I would think, the quarterback position, it's such an important position to get right. You have to get that position right. And if you're constantly wobbling at that position, I would think that, look at even Belichick, right, Coach? I mean, look at him at Cleveland. He wobbled around with Vinny, then he had Bernie, and it wasn't the same, obviously, when you get that landmark guy up in New England. Is that the focus also for the organization? You guys have some cap issues, but getting that guy right has to be the priority of the Carolina Panthers and yourself, I would think.
No doubt. After experiencing instability at quarterback for the last few years, and some of those things out of your control. Obviously it's, with Andrew's retirement, he made the right decision for him, right before season. So that started the cycle of what we went through. So you learn from that. So how do we create that stability? We have an opportunity right now to kind of look and evaluate all the options at quarterback, both in free agency and in the draft, and try to, hey, who can be our starter for the next 5-10 years, and then lock in. But we got to make sure we get that decision right.
Will you look at a veteran until that guy is evaluated? Because again, or will it be one of these, Frank? Will you get the kid in the draft? Or are you still going through that process? Because I asked you this a couple of years ago when it came to Carson. Are you going to go the veteran guy and have the guy in waiting like you saw in Kansas City with Andy? Is it still a formula that you guys are working out? You're brand new there, so I'm assuming that you're still working through that formula?
Yeah, no doubt. We are still working through that formula. Really, today was our first staff meeting. Really with almost all the staff here. So we'll work through all the college guys, all the free agent guys. We've already talked kind of about a vision and a plan for where we want to go as an offense. But in this league, Dan, as you know all too well, and you get to talk about all the time, you need a plan B, because you might put your eyes on a guy that you want to get, but you don't always get who you want. So you do have to have plan B and plan C. So that's what we're going through right now.
Coach, your guy that you had conversations with a couple of years ago with Jeffrey Lurie and then with Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, everybody in Philadelphia kept doing this. Who? What's this guy? What are we doing here? Turns out the last 2 years, this guy has absolutely changed everybody's opinions of him. You knew that, though. So I would think that you're not surprised with the success that Nick is having in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't like to say I told you so, not you, but like this is one of those times that I do enjoy saying that a little bit because I'm so excited for Nick. And, listen, anybody that knows Nick, you could have asked Phillip Rivers the same question, who was around Nick for a long time. You knew this guy was going to be a superstar. You knew he was going to be a superstar. That's why when I got the head job at Indianapolis, and I told them there's one guy I got to get on this staff, it's Nick Sirianni. And he was the wide receiver. He was the wide receiver coach with the Chargers. And I got to get this guy because I knew I'd worked with him for 3 years. I knew he was a superstar and really happy for him. I'm not surprised by the success that he's having. He's built a great staff. Obviously, Howie's done a great job of building that roster, but Nick's a great leader and a great coach.
How much did you prep him for understanding the dynamic that working with the Eagles and what it was like? Because obviously it was a bumpy road for the ending for Doug there. And Frank, I think the more you know about an organization like you picking Carolina, you probably did your due diligence, homework on people that had worked in the organization and worked for David Tepper. How important is that to know what the landscape is going in? Because he's been running since he got here.
No doubt. And I think it's a little bit important, but, I think some of it is sometimes naivety can be to play to your advantage, and you don't get bogged down by some of the things. But in the case of the Eagles organization, there's so many positives. Mr. Lurie is just an outstanding owner, and Howie Roseman's done an amazing job. So it was ideal situation for Nick to go into, and then he built out a great staff. So really, it was not, it's just Nick and I being coaching colleagues, being friends, and we're walking through that together. We continue to stay in touch. We continue to talk football, talk head coaching issues, talk offensive football all the time.
Couple last questions, Coach. I know you got to get back to work. I'm going to throw this at you here. If you didn't take the Carolina Panther job, was there any conversation with the Eagles and yourself about potentially taking an advisory role?
I talked to a couple teams about possible coordinator jobs. But I definitely had a conversation with Nick. Because of my love for Nick and my love for the Eagles organization, there was discussion about that. But thankfully that didn't have to. We didn't have to.
Really? Now you're the head coach of Carolina. I mean, and with the richest owner in the league, I'm pretty cool with that too for you. Last couple questions here for you too. You're probably not shocked the development of Jalen Hurts. I am, because of what I thought he was. He's completely changed, and I don't know how much you could talk about other personnel, Frank. So I don't want you to have to go crazy on it, because this is from 30,000 feet. I'm asking you from an outside looking in. You've got to be pretty impressed with what this kid's accomplished.
He's amazing. He's amazing. And normally I don't like talking too much about it, but in this case, happy to, because, Jalen has done it the right way. He handles himself with class and poise. He has great work ethic. He has all the intangibles. I'm not really surprised either, because when he was coming out, I did a long Zoom interview with him, and I remember taking my notes from that interview. Right now, this guy's got all the intangible qualities. You can feel it. You can feel him over this Zoom. I thought, mentally, there was questions of how much offense has he been exposed to, but I put him through a pretty thorough stuff on tape. He handled all that mentally exceedingly well. So I'm not surprised. I'm happy for him. I do think Nick and that staff have done a great job of accentuating what he does well, but really Jalen deserves so much of the lion's share of the credit, because he's such a great leader and such a hard worker, and then super talented on top of it.
Everybody in Philly loves you. I mean, Frank, everybody They did just absolutely love you and appreciate what you did in 17 and winning the Super Bowl with Doug, something that city has never, I get the privilege of talking to the majority of the Eagle fans now. And, even yesterday we had Seth Joyner on and, we were talking about, the development of what you guys did. And so that had to be one of the happiest times of your life. I know it wasn't the head guy, but you had really a lot of say in the direction of what that team did.
It was a great time, like you said, Dan. For me as a coach, for my family, I mean, it was a great experience. We'll forever have love for the Philadelphia, the great sports city that it is, the Eagles organization, and you learn. I'm happy that I can take those experiences and use them in my current situation. You know what I mean? Not to try to duplicate or replicate exactly what the Eagles had there or what we did there, but there's little things that you learn along the way, right? So you take those. We don't rest on those, it's a great experience. That's over. As a coach, that's over. I've been fired since then, right? So, so somebody doesn't like me very much, right? So, but all those things are learning experiences, the good and the bad, the Super Bowl and getting fired. You take both of those things together and they make you better for where you're at right now. And in the coaching world, that's all we're worried about. This season, this team, let's get it right. Let's do something special.
Finally, I had Seth Joyner on yesterday. He came on my program personally and said that he'd be a linebacker coach. And he potentially may get a call from the organization on being defensive coordinator. Just throwing it out here. If you're looking for a linebacker coach and you're looking for somebody, he was on for 2 hours yesterday talking. You should talk to him, Frank, and listen to this guy. He turns the binoculars around. And I'll tell you what, you want old school coaching? You want a guy who sees a vision and how to develop guys? I mean, he's an old school guy, Frank, and I know you kind of like those guys. Might be someone to take a look at.
I do like those guys, and I don't know Seth, but obviously know of him and his incredible career, and I do know, I hear about who he is as a person. I love it to hear when guys like that want to get in coaching. He'll be very successful. Excited about that. It's good for the game, good helping develop young players, strong leader, the whole deal. So I'm sure if he does take that step, he's going to be very successful.
Frank, thank you so much for taking time out of a swamped day. I know there's 30 hours in the 24-hour clock for you every day. You probably sleep at your building. You're probably putting his coaching staff. You've got the combines, I think, in a couple days. Then there's free agency. Franchise tag is going on. Holy cow, you got to put everything together. And then here we go. We're just months away from training camp and mini camps and such. So for you to do this for me, we've been friends for over 40 years, my friend. I'm here for you all the time. Thank you so much, man, for this. And I love you and God bless you.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Sorry about the camera. My fault. I owe you one on the camera, so sorry about that. For you anytime. Love being on the show. Always love connecting with you. So thank you.
You bet. Frank Reich. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you doing this. All right, guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button and Tone. I think you just heard something, and the bite of the day, that will be the second bite of the day. The Philadelphia Eagles reached out to Frank Reich on being the offensive coordinator or an advisor for them before he took the Carolina Panther job. So obviously something was in the works during the Super Bowl. Frank talked to the Eagles. He said it right here. Tone. Thumbs up on that one, Tom. Frank just told you the Eagles contacted and he had conversations with Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. You don't hear that anywhere else. Now that Angelo's gone, the only place you hear that stuff is right here. Sorry about the visual, but the audio was enough. The Eagles wanted Frank to be the coordinator. Frank Reich was going to be your offensive coordinator. Mint, that is breaking. He admitted it. Eagles reached out to him. We'll have that up on the website very soon. Okay? We'll have that up on the website soon.